ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22, Prithu Maharaj's meeting with Kumaras. So we are in the final section of this chapter, text 56 to 62, 63. These are qualities of Prithu Maharaj. So we have seen that, again and again, the qualities of Prithu Maharaj are being described. His quality of speech was glorified, and we have seen how beautifully Maharaj Prithu used to speak and used to communicate, right? So we come to now text 56. राजेत्यघं नामधेयं सोमराज इवापरः सूर्यवृत्सृजन् गृहणन् प्रतृपञ्च भुवो वसुः. Translation.
Maharaj Prithu became as celebrated a king as Somraj, the king of the moon. He was also powerful and exacting, just like the sun god, who distributes heat and light and at the same time exacts all the planetary waters. Purport. In this verse, Maharaj Prithu is compared to the kings of the moon and sun. The king of the moon and the king of the sun serve as examples of how the Lord desires the universe to be ruled. The sun distributes heat and light, and at the same time exacts water from all planets. The moon is very pleasing at night, and when one becomes fatigued after a day's labor in the sun, he can enjoy the moonshine. Like the sun god, Prithu Maharaj distributed his heat and light to give protection to his kingdom. For without heat and light, no one can exist. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj exacted taxes and gave such strong orders to the citizens and government that no one had the power to disobey him. On the other hand, he pleased everyone just like the moonshine. Both the sun and the moon have particular influences by which they maintain order in the universe. And modern scientists and philosophers should become familiar with the Supreme Lord's perfect plan for universal maintenance. Hare Krishna.
So Maharaj Prithu, he acted both like sun and moon. So previously we know that the sun god deity is named as Vivaswan, and here the moon god deity is known as Somaraj, right? Somaraj Ivaparah. So he's the Somaraj. So like the moon, he nourished everyone in the night because moon, it is said to be the moonlight nourishes actually the plantation and the trees. So like the moon giving the Shitalata, right? Giving the coolness and rasa in the night like the moon, and the heat and light in the sun, the daytime. So here, the Lord Prithu Maharaj acted both as sun and the moon. Look at the word extracting the water from all the planetary systems. Okay, so this is the plural. That means all planets have water. Recently, I saw a very beautiful photograph of Pluto. This is the closest photo I have taken. And they have discovered that there is ice mountains on the Pluto. Okay. So we will give modern science another 500 years to come to somewhere close to understanding of Bhagavatam. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that sun gives the heat and light and also evaporates the water and returns the water as again, in the form of the water cycle continues. And similarly, moon is very pleasing. And when one is fatigued after a day's labor in the sun, one can enjoy the moonshine. So generally what happens is a personality is either very strict or very pleasing, right? So some people are very pleasing, but they will not discipline. Some people, they are like discipline oriented, and you go in front of them only, you will be trembling. Of course, good people, but so they may not be pleasing. But here, Prithu Maharaj, both, he acted like both mother and father for his citizens, right? So this is the beauty of Maharaj Prithu. Text 57. दुर्धरस्य तेजसेरग्निर्महेन्द्रो इव दुर्जयः तितिक्षया परिधरित्रीव दौर्यरभिष्टतो नृणाम्. Translation.
Translation: Maharaj Prithu was so strong and powerful that no one could disobey his orders any more than one could conquer fire itself. He was so strong that he was compared to Indra, the king of heaven, whose power is insuperable. On the other hand, Maharaj Prithu was also as tolerant as the earth, and in fulfilling various desires of human society, he was like a heaven itself. Purport: it is a duty of a king to give protection to the citizen and to fulfill their desires. At the same time, the citizens must obey the laws of the state. Maharaj Prithu maintained all the standards of good government, and, and he was so invincible that no one could disobey his orders any more than a person could stop heat and light emanating from a fire. He was so strong and powerful that he was compared to the king of heaven, Indra. In this age, modern scientists have been experimenting with nuclear weapons, and in a former age, they used to release Brahmastra. But all these Brahmastras and nuclear weapons are insignificant compared to the thunderbolt of the King of Heaven. When Indra releases a thunderbolt, even the highest hills and mountains crack. On the other hand, Maharaj Prithu was as tolerant as the earth itself, and he fulfilled all the desires of his citizens just like torrents of rain from the sky. Without rainfall, it is not possible to fulfill one's various desires on this planet. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.14, Parajanya Anna Sambhavaha. Food grains are produced only because rain falls from the sky, and without grains, no one on the earth can be satisfied. Consequently, an unlimited distribution of mercy is compared to the water falling from the clouds. Maharaj Prithu distributed his mercy incessantly, much like rainfall. In other words, Maharaj Prithu was softer than a rose flower and harder than a thunderbolt. In this way, he ruled over his kingdom. Hare Krishna.
So while the previous verse we saw two qualities of Maharaj Prithu, he is pleasing and celebrated like the moon, and powerful and exacting the taxes like the sun. Now here are the four qualities of Maharaj Prithu. He was unconquerable. No one could disobey his orders like fire personified. Like Indra, he was unsurpassable. Like Mother Earth, Daritri Viva, Titikshaya, Daritri Viva, right? Titiksha, that is tolerance like Mother Earth. And while fulfilling the desires, he acted simply like heaven, right? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that all these different varieties of qualities existed in Maharaj Prithu, right? And Maharaj Prithu maintained all standards of good governance, and no one could, he was so strong in his, no one could disobey him, just like no one could disobey the fire personified. And then he acted like the Indra. Indra is, Prabhupada gives, the thunderbolt is so powerful. The thunderbolt of Indra cannot be compared to the modern weapons of modern warfare, right? People boast that we have this weapon, that weapon, and we can finish the war in 3 days, 2 days. Couple of wars are going on for last 4 or 5 years. So Indra's thunderbolt is extremely powerful. It can just crack the mountains. And we Kali Yuga Jeev, we do not have very, the great experience of the mountains. All the best mountain we could see is Everest, and we could say, oh, tallest mountain. The universe has Mount Sumeru, and there is a huge variety of other mountains, the real Himalayas, and so on and so forth. So, but Thunderbolt could completely crack it. So he was like a thunderbolt. And then he always distributed the mercy. And in fulfilling the desires, he was tolerant like the earth. And in fulfilling the desires, he simply acted. So Prabhupada says, in other words, Maharaj Prithu was softer than the rose flower and harder than the thunderbolt. So this is based on, there is a beautiful Abhanga also of Tukaram Maharaj around this. That we are the Vaishnav, and Vaishnav means is softer than the rose and harder than thunderbolt. Text 58. वर्षति स्म यथा कामं पर्जन्य इव तर्पयन् समुद्र इव दुर्बोध सत्वानाचल इराडिव. Translation.
Just as rainfall satisfies everyone's desires, Maharaj Prithu used to satisfy everyone. He was like the sea in that no one could understand his depth. And he was like Meru, the king of hills, in the fixity of his purport. Maharaj Prithu used to distribute his mercy to suffering humanity, and it was like rainfall after excessive heat. The ocean of wide and expansive, and it is very difficult to measure its length and breadth. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj was so deep and grave that no one could fathom his purposes. The hill known as Meru is fixed in the universe as a universal pure, and no one can move it an inch from its position. Similarly, no one could ever dissuade Maharaj Prithu when he was determined.
Now, three more qualities of Maharaj Prithu. He was just like the rainfall, satisfying everyone. Now, we can relate to this today so much. Yesterday it was so hot in Pune, and it was slightly better when it rained. So it was the rainfall pleasing everyone. He was unfathomable like the sea. And he was fixed in his purpose, fixity in the purpose, like mountain Meru. So he's compared as the rainfall, sea, and Mount Meru in this shloka. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Prithu Maharaj used to distribute his mercy to suffering humanity, just like the rainfall after excessive heat. Right? So he was as deep as the ocean, and he was as fixed as mountain Meru, and all these qualities existed in Maharaj Prithu. Text 59. Dharmaradiva Shikshayam Ascharye Himavaniva Kuvera Iva Koshadhyo Guptartho Varuno Yatha. Translation.
Maharaj Prithu's intelligence and education were exactly like that of Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. His opulence was comparable to the Himalaya mountains, where all valuable jewels and metals are stocked. He possessed great riches like Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly planets, and no one could reveal his secrets, for they were like the demigod Varunas. Purport. Yamaraj or Dharmaraj, as the superintendent of death, has to judge the criminal living entities who have committed sinful activities throughout their lives. Consequently, Yamaraj is expected to be most expert in judicial matters. Prithu Maharaj was also highly learned and exceedingly exact in delivering his judgment upon the citizens. No one could excel him in opulence any more than estimate the stock of minerals and jewels in the Himalaya mountains. Therefore, he is compared to the Kuvera, the treasurer of the heavenly planets. Nor could anyone discover the secrets of his life any more than learn the secrets of Varuna, the demigod presiding over the water, the night, and the western sky. Varuna is omniscient, and since he punishes sins, he is prayed to for forgiveness. He is also sender of disease and is often associated with Mitra and Indra.
So now here, Maharaj Prithu is compared to Yamaraj for the intelligence in delivering exact judgment and punishment. He was as opulent as Himalayas. His riches were compared only with Kubera, and no one could reveal his secret because he was as deep and omniscient as Varuna. See beautifully, these are the four qualities of Maharaj Prithu in this verse. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Yamaraj has a very specific duty. Yamaraj is also called as Dharmaraj because he decides dharma and adharma, and he is supposed to be the most expert personality in the judicial matter. Right, judiciary is very important, and we had our Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was considered to be extremely proficient judge. Right, there is entire life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and just Google around it, YouTube mein, there are wonderful lectures on life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Prithu Maharaj was highly learned, and thus he gave the exact judgment to the citizens. No one could excel him in opulence. Only his opulence were only compared to Kubera. And similarly, no one, nor could anyone discover the secrets of his life any more than the secrets of Varuna. Right. So, what this means is that life is not always a straight line. Success is shabby. So, within the realm of four regulative principles, within the realm of our moral compass and the moral guidelines, still there are some ups and downs in the life of a devotee. Kabhi japa 12 baje ke baad hua, something like that, But when some ups and downs happens in our life, of course, we should reveal our ups and downs to one very close person or one's counselor or mentor, facilitator, to whom we are accountable to. But it is not that one becomes paranoid and just goes around and just collect sympathy, calling that I am so fallen, so fallen, so fallen. This is not the Vaishnava behavior, right? So there are certain secrets to be maintained. Of course, again, to be stressed, it is within the four regulative principles and not that, any, we are not encouraging. But the point is, there needs to be a gravity in personality, right? So we have to grow from Kanishtha Adhikari to Madhyama Adhikari platform by knowing how to behave in the Vaishnava association. Sometimes we may brag something, मैंने ये किया, ये किया, ये किया. Sometimes we may be lamenting something. All the while, we may want the focus of discussion to be we. I. Talk about me. Talk good about me, bad about me, whatever you want to do, talk about me. Right? So, one has to maintain certain secrets, but one should be accountable to somebody in one's spiritual life. Varuna is omniscient. He punishes sins and is prayed to for the forgiveness, right? He's sender of the disease. And also is associated with Mitra and Indra. Mitra and Indra are very close associates of Varuna. Text 60. Matarishveva sarvatma balena mahasaujasa avidhyataya devo bhagavan bhutiradiva. Translation.
In his bodily strength, and in the strength of his senses, Maharaja Prithu was as strong as the wind, which can go anywhere and everywhere. As far as his intolerance was concerned, he was just like the all-powerful Rudra expansion of Lord Shiva or Sadashiva.
So here are the further two qualities that as far as the bodily and the sensual strength is considered, he was as powerful as Vayudev, wind god. See, sometimes what it is sometimes, when person is gentle means, is not that gentle means he is like, the pale vegetable. He had extreme bodily strength and the sensual strength, right? And then he was as intolerant as Rudra. So Rudra is the expansion of Lord Shiva. Well, Lord Shiva is known for all the Vaishnava qualities. Rudra expansion is known for all other qualities, like his intolerance, extreme anger, Where Lord Shiva is Ashutosh, Rudra is, Kala Bhairava and Rudra. They are expansions of Lord Shiva. So he was as intolerant as Rudra personified. See, look at all these different contradictory qualities existing within the personality of Maharaj Prithu. Text 61. Kandarpa iti saundarye manasvi mrugaradiva vatsalye manuvrinnunam prabhutve bhagavan ajah.
In,
Translation.
in his bodily beauty, he was just like Cupid, and in his thoughtfulness, he was like a lion. In his affection, he was just like a Swayambhu Manu, and in his ability to control, he was like Lord Brahma.
Now these are the further four qualities of Maharaj Prithu. That in his Kandarpa iva saundarye, he was extremely beautiful. What a personality. Can you just imagine being with such a personality? And we are with such a personality. When we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, when we are hearing about Maharaj Prithu, we are right next sitting to Maharaj Prithu, right? Kandarpe iva saundaryam manasvi mrugaradiva. So Mrugarad means the king of the animals, that is the lion. And he's Manasvi, like the lion. Why Manasvi? Because the lion, it is not that, you will find lion doing time pass with jackal or doing time pass with, some other. Lion will be existing. He's Manasvi. Okay, he will move around when he is actually knows that he is hungry that time, and when he's guaranteed of the success, he will attack. And otherwise, he's just the king, Mrugaradiva, Manasvi. So he was Manasvi like lion. Vatsalye, Manuvandranam. So in the Vatsalya Bhav, he was like Swayambhuva Manu. Why Swayambhuva Manu? Because word Manava comes from Manu. Prabhupada says the word man comes from Manu. So he was very affectionate like Manu. And Prabhutve, in the ability to control, he was Bhagavan Ajaha. Bhagavan Ajaha is like Lord Brahma. Ajaha here is Brahmaji. So in controlling, in Prabhutva, he was like Brahmaji. So these are the further four qualities of Maharaj Prithu. Text 62. Brahaspatir Atmavatte Swayam Harihi Bhaktya Go Guru Vipreshu Vishwaksenanuvartishu Hiya Prashtaya Sheelam Atmatulya Parodyame. Translation.
In his personal behavior, Prithu Maharaj exhibited all good qualities, and in spiritual knowledge, he was exactly like Brihaspati. In self-control, he was like the supreme personality of Godhead himself. As far as his devotional service was concerned, he was a great follower of devotees who were attached to cow protection and the rendering of all service to the spiritual master and the Brahmanas. He was perfect in his shyness and in his gentle behavior. And when he engaged in some philanthropic activity, he worked as if he were working for his own personal self. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya talked to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Lord honored him as the incarnation of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the chief priest of the heavenly kingdom, and he is a follower of the philosophy known as Brahmavad or Mayavad. Brihaspati is also a great logician. It appears from this statement that Maharaj Prithu, although a great devotee constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord, could defeat all kinds of impersonalists and Mayavadis by his profound knowledge of Vedic scriptures. We should learn from Maharaj Prithu that a Vaishnava or a devotee must not only be fixed in the service of the Lord, but if required, must be prepared to argue with the impersonalist Mayavadis with all logic and philosophy and defeat their contention that the absolute truth is impersonal. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ideal self-controller or Brahmachari. When Krishna was elected to be president of the Rajasuya Yajna performed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, grandfather Bhishmadev praised Lord Krishna as the greatest Brahmachari. Because grandfather Bhishmadev was a Brahmachari, he was quite fit to distinguish a Brahmachari from a Vyabhichari. Although Prithu Maharaj was a householder and father of 5 children, he was still considered to be most controlled. One who begets Krishna conscious children for the benefit of humanity is actually a brahmachari. One who simply begets children like cats and dogs is not a proper father. The word brahmachari also refers to one who acts on the platform of Brahman or devotional service. In the impersonal Brahman conception, there is no activity. Yet, when one performs activities in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is to be known as Brahmachari. Thus, Prithu Maharaj was an ideal Brahmachari and Grihastha simultaneously. Vishwaksenanuvartitshu refers to those devotees who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Other devotees must follow in their footsteps. Shri Narottam Das Thakur said, Ei Chaya Goshani Yanra Muni Tandra Dasa. I am prepared to become the disciple of anyone who follows in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis. Also, like all Vaishnavas, Maharaj Prithu was devoted to cow protection, spiritual masters, and qualified Brahmanas. Prithu Maharaj was also very humble, meek, and gentle, and whenever he performed any philanthropic work or welfare activity for the general public, he would labor exactly as if he were tending to his own personal necessities. In other words, his philanthropic activities were not for the sake of show, but were performed out of the personal feeling of commitment. All philanthropic activities should be thus performed.
So now these are the last 3 qualities mentioned here of Maharaj Prithu. In the knowledge, he was as knowledgeable. He exhibited the knowledge like Brihaspati. In the control of the senses, he can be compared only to the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And personally, he himself had great devotion to the cows, Vriddha, elders, Brahmanas, devotees, and helping others with bashfulness, humility, and cheerfulness. Right. So he was perfect in his shyness. He was not shameless because he had all the qualities. He was shy, correct? So, this shyness is considered to be a feminine quality. When Lord Krishna explains this quality, in Bhagavad Gita, it is considered to be a feminine quality. And it was perfectly exhibited by Maharaj Prithu, that, shyness. So, in his personal behavior, he exhibited all the good qualities. So, these are the qualities of Maharaj Prithu. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Lord Chaitanya, when he was discussing with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is considered as incarnation of Brihaspati, who is the chief priest and follows the Brahmavad, or Advaitavad, Mayavad, Brahmavad he follows, Brihaspati, and he is a great logician. And in the debates and the philosophical arguments, Prithu Maharaj was as great a logician and learned personality as Brihaspati. Prabhupada says it is very important that we as a devotee should know how to conduct debates and how to prove the point of Gita and Bhagavad. Right. This is one of the essential criteria for a devotee to be termed as Madhyama Adhikari. Otherwise, even with all good qualities, if one is not philosophically oriented and if is not philosophically trained in establishing the tattva, then one is still considered to be Kanishtadhikari. Right. So knowing philosophy and especially knowing how to defeat Mayavad is very important aspect for a devotee. Then he is considered to be a greatest brahmachari. And Prabhupada writes here, just like Lord Krishna is considered greatest brahmachari. Only a brahmachari knows another brahmachari, Prabhupada says. And the greatest brahmachari that time was Pitamaha Bhishma. And when he declared that, the Agra Puja man should be given to Krishna, who is greatest brahmachari, all the Kauravas, Duryodhan, Shakuni, they just began to laugh. They said, what kind of brahmachari? He has 16,108 wives, this, that. Nobody could understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right. So Prithu Maharaj was also a brahmachari. Somebody may say, Prithu Maharaj was householder. We know the 5 names, 5 sons, his names also. How is a brahmachari? So Prabhupada says brahmachari means one who controls the senses and acts on the platform of Brahman within the marriage. He is also considered as Grihastha Brahmachari. So Maharaj Prithu was a Grihastha Brahmachari. And then he was Vishwaksena Anuvartishu, constantly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord, doing this or that for his citizens. So this is constantly engaged. Example of constant engagement to the service of the Supreme Lord is Echai Gosai Kari Charana Vandan. Prabhupada, records here the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis, constantly engaged. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, constantly engaged, who is called the 7th Goswami. Srila Prabhupada himself, constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. And then the disciples of Prabhupada and their disciples, we can see, the very hard-working devotees within our, ISKCON temples, they are constantly engaged like this. Like all the Vaishnavas, he was also dedicated to cow protection, to spiritual masters, and the qualified Brahmanas. He was very humble, meek, and gentle, and he was great in his philanthropic activities. And this is how all the great qualities resided within the personality of Maharaj Prithu. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, yesterday you mentioned about that feedback form, but I think I'm not.
Yeah. I'll prepare it. Yesterday was a
But I'm not part of that WhatsApp group through which you are going to share it. So just
Yes,
want to.
Prabhu. Just give a, we have our coordinator here, Mudit Krishna Prabhu.
Okay.
Just he will be in touch with you. Just put your number on the chat box.
Just chat box, huh? Okay. Thank you.
And you can, yes, he will add you in the WhatsApp group.
Okay. No.
Yes,
I think chat is disabled when I'm trying to.
we have
You
your
can
number. We have your number, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.